And I think we need to reframe how we look at exercise, right? Exercise is a prescription, right, for a lack of movement in your body. So if you were missing, vitamin D, if you've got any bone health issues, most people should be taking, that's a bad example. Say you needed vitamin C because you were lacking in your tests and the doctor says, Diana, you should be upping your dosage of vitamin C. And I'd be like, okay, great. I will take the vitamin C because I'm not getting it in my diet, right? Which is ideally how we're getting nutrients through the food that we consume in a healthy variety of foods. So exercise, so whatever you think of as exercise, is like a supplement for the lack of movement in our bodies, right? That happens because of this day and age that we live in, right? Modern technologies of internet, of having all the cars to take us where we have to go to buy our groceries instead of walking to get them. So I wanted to reframe this class to show you that movement doesn't always have to be called exercise. It's just moving in unique and novel ways as the supplement for the lack of movement. So I hope you've kind of felt that there's different ways to move in our life, and all of them have value. Osteofit, bar, Pilates, yoga, Zumba, Tai Chi, they all have value. And just like, one more thing, I promise, and then we're gonna get moving. And just like your diet, because we're using that as a frame of reference, if all you ever ate was oranges, would you get sick? Probably, yeah? So if all you ever did was Pilates, not that your body would get sick, but it would just be like, it's missing something. So it's all about variety and finding something that motivates you to move, brings you joy, that is consistent in your life. And that's how we stay healthy in our bodies. So today's class is, what is it about? I had to write things down because, as you know, I have a lot to say. So lack of movement in your big toe. So we're gonna do some footwork today. Can cause a lot of problems in your body. And so in fact, as we age, I've written my notes, studies, because I read a whole bunch of them this weekend, exhibit that soft tissue gets stiff. So the soft tissue in your feet, muscles, tendons, ligaments, not bone, gets stiff. And that stiffness can decrease your range of motion, right? The decrease in range of motion in your feet can cause pain in your feet, impaired performance, movement, especially when you're doing weight-bearing exercises. So we're going to work on increasing the range of motion in our feet so that we can have some fun later on in the class. With that being said, some of you might notice this interesting contraption on my foot. I'm wearing toe separators right now because our feet were meant to splay. Show me your hands. This is how your feet were meant to move. And a lot of people I work with have toes that are fused together. In fact, in the shape of their shoes, pointy, right? So for those of you who have done my foot workshop, you've heard me discuss this to some degree. So the toe separators are meant to get your feet to spread out. If your feet are spread out, that soft tissue is connected to the ground more. So just look down at your feet and do your best to have your toes pointed straight ahead. Always know that you can have a chair for added support. And from this position, I want you to lift all 10 toes off of the ground so that we can locate the tripod of the foot. And if you've been taking David's class, I've worked with him so that he understands our strongest base of support in our body is when the weight of our body is connected into those 3 points. Most specifically, the mound of your big toe. So behind your big toe, behind the center of your, behind your pinky toe, so big toe, pinky toe, and then the center of your heel. So see if you can try to spread the foot, and as you lift all 10 toes, you're gonna feel the arch of the foot connected. So this might be difficult for some of you. So this in and of itself could be work for you. And then once you find that tripod of the foot, I want you to lower just the big toe mounds down. So the big toes touch down, kiss the ground, and then the pinky toes touch the ground. And then all those unnamed toes in between stretch and lengthen away from the foot and touch the ground as well. And as you do that, you notice it's a lot of work to get that tripod to connect. Yes, a lot of people have this posture. The inside of their foot collapses, the knees collapse. Or conversely, bow-legged, a little bit more weight in the outer edges of the foot. So in order for that soft tissue that tends to become stiff and rigid as we age, we're gonna grab whatever if we're fashioned for a ball and do a ball roll. So if you found it very difficult to connect that tripod of the foot, it's not an accident, right? Especially if you're wearing orthotics, right? Which creates a sense of rigidity and stiffness in your feet so that that soft tissue isn't pliable, right? So we're just gonna let the ball roll. I'm not gonna give you any specific techniques. Get creative. Move the ball around the surface of your foot in any way that you deem appropriate, forward and back, side to side. And all I'm gonna ask for you to do is to do your best to try and get the entire surface of your foot, including your toes. Can you press your toes down into the ball? Can you get your heel to rub into the ball? Forward and back. And ideally, what you're attempting to do is to find those stiff parts, maybe even uncomfortable parts. I don't want it to be painful, so don't put that much pressure on the ball that you feel pain. Back and forth, back and forth. We're going to talk about the big toe mound in a moment because a lot of people are missing range of motion in their big toe mound, and people are like, who cares? Who cares about my big toe? It's so far away from my brain, I'm not even thinking about it. And I'll explain that to you in a second. Let's go to the other foot. Thinking of the tissue, right? Our body is made up of 37-ish trillion cells. So we have cells in our feet, in our tissues. We also have those nerve endings. And here we're attempting to wake up those nerve endings. So never forget about your feet and your movement practice, right? If we're especially working on balance poses, if you take bar, if you take osteofit, if you do Tai Chi, Zumba, whatever is your passion, you like bowling. There's an element of balancing in everything that you do all day long. Side to side, forward and back, toes, heels, all the places, all the nooks and crannies. So making sure that we scrub our feet with that ball, or again, if you don't have a ball, grab, maybe even like worst case scenario, if you put a weight on the floor and just kind of press your foot into the weight, right? So that you're just kind of squishing and giving input into that foot. Oh, so much to say about the feet, you guys, right, Deb? Deb's heard it over the years. She knows the whole story about the feet. And then come off of that, from this position, we're gonna do our top of the foot stretch. And again, a very common stretch, top of the foot on the mat, quite literally. Big toe mound down, press the top of the foot down and feel that all the way from your feet into your ankle, into your knees, maybe, who knows where you'll feel it. It really all depends on where your tightness lies. Yeah, if you need some support, take it. Do your best to keep your body lined up in all your stretches so you don't wanna push your hips forward. And take a couple of breaths into that. And then let's switch sides. So if we have this sense of connection by creating some mobility in the soft tissue of your feet, it's only going to help your balance, right? And as you know, as we age, right, we kind of lose our sense of balance because we don't practice it unless you work with me, right? And then we practice our balance a heck of a lot. Falls happen, right? But they don't happen quite as frequently if you practice balancing work. And if you have osteoporosis in this room, in this Zoom room, we know that falls are the major reason why people fracture a bone, right? So we don't want that to happen. Tight calves can inhibit the movement of your ankle, and your ankles are required in walking, which is a balancing exercise, believe it or not. The next thing we're gonna do is grab our towel. If you don't have a towel, you can use a yoga mat. And you're gonna roll up the towel. It really all depends. I have huge feet, y'all. I'm almost a size 12. and I'm proud of it because they support this body. So I have no issues with having big feet. That being said, if you had a size 5 or 6 foot, this roll would be too big. Yeah, right, Mo? It's okay to have big feet. They're there to support your body. I just say I have a bigger base of support. Less chance of falling. And now you're simply going to place all 5 toe mounds. Imagine this is my foot, right? All 5 toe mounds on the rolled towel and or yoga mat or whatever you're using. And the opposite leg will start to come forward, maybe. So if the opposite leg that's not being stretched, so this is a calf stretch, you should be feeling it in the calf of the front leg. In this position, I am not personally feeling a calf stretch. So I'm going to inch my opposite leg closer and closer so that they become parallel over time. It may not happen today. Right? We're always thinking of shoulders over hips, and once you're in your position, wherever that might be, this feels like a good stretch to me. And again, your stretch can be here. Some of us might even be here. If you're super flexible in this room, and as you're doing this, notice the weight on your stretching calf, toe mounds. Are you putting a lot more weight in your pinky toe side? Your big toe side, or can you spread the weight of that stretching leg equally and evenly? Again, this speaks specifically to your calf and your ankle. Okay? And can you take a few deep inhales and exhales in this position? We want to make sure that we're breathing fully in all of our sensations of stretching so that we don't inhibit the movement. We'll take one more breath here. And then I'm going to move my towel over and we'll stretch the other foot. Again, the name of the game is to try to get the toe mounds, all 5 of them, weighted equally. So oftentimes people will go all into their pinky toe side. We don't want to do that. And then again, can you shimmy that back foot forward until you feel the sensation of stretching, shoulders down, eyes on the horizon, and chin tucked in here. Taking 3 or 4 deep inhales and exhales through the nose. Does this feel like exercise to you? No, but it is movement, right? And this can, I know some of you are with your, have older parents as well. If you want to help keep them safe and have a better base of support, we want to look at people's feet, right? We want to make sure they're in good shape and that they're flexible and mobile. This is going to help us retain our independence and their independence. So think about sharing these simple stretches with, parents or older folks that you might be, taking care of or that are in your life. Good. And then come off of that. Make sure that you're aware of your surroundings. There's no tripping hazards. I am going to use a little bit of a chair for some added support. We're going to toe disassociation exercises. I'm like, what is a toe disassociation exercise? You're going to grab, and this is one prop that I neglected to mention, a box of tissue or a hardcover book that's roughly the same width as a box of tissue. Or, Deb, I know you have a yoga block. Yeah, yoga block is perfect. Or like a book. And worst case scenario, roll up your towel and put it on the floor in between your feet. My apologies, guys. I forgot about this exercise. This is so great. So a lot of you, if you did my Happy Feet workshop, know the lifting of the toe mound work. And that was for the masses of a room full of, I don't know, how many do we have? 60 people in the end, over 60 people. This is a smaller group. So with your feet on either side of the object, about a few centimeters away from it. So I don't want you touching the box or book or yoga block. So you're gonna move your feet slightly away so that you can see the space of your mat between your foot and the object, okay? So the weight may not be hip width, it might be slightly wider, and that's okay. Now from here, we're doing our best to keep our body lined up, ankle, knee, hip, shoulder, okay? Now from here, let's find that tripod. So please lift all 10 toes up off of the ground, okay? We're trying to get the nicest posture that we have. So try not to lean, keep our bodies stacked and aligned, right? and find that tripod of the foot. So we've already found it earlier. Can you find it now? Big toe. Stretch your pinky toe away from big toe and anchor there. Center of heel. Good. And then place all 10 toes down. Tripod. Now, without moving closer or farther away from the block, lift just your big toes up. So I really want you to focus on those 3 points of contact, because if you feel the ankle collapse inwards, you're losing the weight on the outer edge of the foot. So the name of the game is toe disassociation. Lift just big toes up without getting closer or farther away from the object. Does that make sense? If it doesn't make sense, please let me know. Yeah, it makes sense? Okay. And then put big toes down. This is speaking to your toe extension, okay? So now from here, big toes stay down. You still have your tripod. Press your big toe down. Lift all 8 toes up without getting closer or farther away from the block or tissue box. There's a lot of muscular activation going on in your feet, ankles, and lower limbs. Good. Keep lifting all 8 toes up for 3, 2, 1. Lower. Big toes lift. Try not to. Be honest with yourself. I would never be able to see this from this distance. Even if it starts to slightly move inwards towards the box, I want you to really focus on anchoring through that tripod. It's a lot of work in the legs. Big toes stay down. Press into the tripod. Press your big toe mounds down. Do you see how your fingers want to work? Is it just me? And lift all 8 toes up. Yeah, so that's a really great exercise. Yeah. I'm watching your fingers, Karen, to see, because sometimes the fingers start doing this funny stuff here. All right, so that's a great exercise for strengthening, right? So strengthening and mobility. We're gonna help with that toe disassociation in the next exercise. Turning, I will show from this angle. From this position, step your left leg slightly back behind you and come up so that the heel is right above your big toe mound. So this is toe extension, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment after we play with this exercise for a second. So eyes on the horizon, heel is lifted right above the big toe mound. Now flip just the big toe under and press the toenail side of your big toe down on the ground. Can you see all that? So I'm going to show you from this angle. I'm just going to show you this foot. I'm going to come up and then flip just the big toe underneath and press the toenail side down. Okay, I'll show that again. Heel lift. So I'm wearing like crazy Jimmy Choos. Then I flip and press my big toenail down. So this is speaking to, do that about 3 or 4 times on one foot, and then we're gonna do the same thing on the other foot. So heel elevates, flip toes under. It's like those 4 toes are running ahead of big toe mound. Super crampy. Really focusing on that toe disassociation. And why, now that you've got the move and you're doing it a few times, 3 or 4 on one, 3 on the other, when we don't have range of motion in our big toe, here's how it can change how you walk. Because we need movement in the big toe to walk with proper gait mechanics. This goes a little deeper than my Happy Feet workshop, right? We go down, heel, midfoot, heel lift, toe push off. If we don't have toe extension, guess what ends up happening? Instead of feet being parallel, joints are being stacked appropriately so that we have the same wear and tear all the way across. Our toes start to turn out. And then we start to walk with external rotation. So if you think about your joints, right? We're pressing into the metatarsal head of the big toe, which can create a little bit more bunion action as well, load the inner knees a little bit more. So really important to try to get to disassociate those big toes from the rest of the foot. Come to the end of your mat. If you need some support, make sure you always have it nearby. You're going to come up onto your big toe mounds, both of them equally and evenly. We're going to tiptoe to the end of our mat, drop our heels, squat. Come on up to our tippy toe mounds, tiptoe back, strength work, drop our heels and squat. Back and forth. We've done this in OsteoFit. I call this tiptoe through the tulips. Don't make me sing. Up and down. And as you come into your squat, drive those hips out. I don't want the knees to collapse, so think about the weight in your feet. Tiptoe walking, please, tiptoe walking. If this is bothersome for your knees, then don't do it. Just walk across your mat, okay? Good, yep. Tiptoe through the tulips, y'all. Good, so working that big toe extension is gonna help our walking mechanics, right? You can challenge your body a little bit differently. Come up onto your toe mounds, walk sideways through the tulips and squat. Sideways and squat. Woo! That's it. Remember, push those hips out, bum back and down. Couple more times. That's it. Nice, Sandy. Good energy today. Woo. Save the energy for OsteoFit tomorrow, y'all. Cardio day. All right, good. I need a sip of water because I've been talking a lot. Grab the smaller towel, please, that you have. Face cloth, dish towel, J cloth, whatever you have. Exercise for your feet and lower limbs. All right, again, I have my chair handy. I'm gonna throw in the air. Okay, before I forget, halfway through class, next week, I have a surprise for you at the end of class. I want you to have 2 ball type things, objects, okay? It can be socks with some rubber bands rolled around it so it has some weight. 2 tennis balls, 2 something small that fashions a ball, okay? Just 2 for next week. End of class, 10 minutes. We're gonna have some fun. So throw this on the ground, working on our foot mechanics and strength. You're going to grab, my hand is fashioning my feet just in case you can't see the details up close. I'm taking my foot and I'm bringing the towel towards me. And I'm just doing my best to scrunch the towel up with all the muscles in my foot. So now I'm not simply working on the strength and mobility of my big toe. All 5 toes are working. All the intrinsic muscles in my feet are working. Additionally, the muscles in my lower limb are working. So just do the towel scrunch. And if you've ever had an injury in your ankle and your foot, you've gone to physiotherapy, this is nothing new for you, right? This is a very rehab-based exercise for the lower limbs and foot and ankle. So just try to scrunch up the towel. It's a little hard for me because I'm on a sticky yoga mat, so the towel doesn't want to go anywhere. If you happen to have like a hardwood floor, might be a little bit more accessible. So we're just scrunching, scrunching, and scrunching. Good. A couple more times. I really want you to feel the work. Make that foot scrunch up almost as if you were making a fist, like you would with your hand. So those muscles, like a bicep curl, should get fatigued. Otherwise, we're not working the strength, right? So make your body work. Make the muscles work. A couple more seconds. I want this to make you tired on this one leg, right? Exercising all the teeny tiny muscles in your foot for 3, for 2, for 1. Oh my goodness gracious. Let's go to the other foot. So again, reframing your movement practice, how we think about exercise is really the name of the game in this class. So take it to the other foot, scrunch it up. Scrunch it up. Keep scrunching the towel up. You're just trying to make a little hot mess. You know, like your spouse leaves the towel in the bathroom, like that. Or your children, or your guests. Nobody ever puts the towel back like you do, right? Scrunch it up. In fact, the only reason that came to mind is someone I know on Instagram or Facebook showed the picture of the towel after her husband left the bathroom and went, really? Really? We all know what it's like, right? So scrunch it up, good. Again, and you might find this exercise easier on one foot than the other. If you've got a creative way, if you want to pick it up and drop it, pick it up and drop it, make it more interesting to you. Maybe challenge your balance. Are you holding onto a chair? Maybe putting your hands behind your back. We'll keep going for 5. Scrunch. 4. 3. Keep scrunching. 2. And 1. This is my good foot, so not as hard on this foot. The other one, I snapped 3 bones in that ankle, so it's a little bit more painful. Yes? Give your foot a little bit of a shake. Shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. So if we think of the strengthening exercises, we also want to think of the mobility, right? And the stretching. We're going to do one more thing. And I want you to be very careful with this exercise. I would never teach it in a super large class. So I want you to think about if you've got any knee sensitivity and you feel any discomfort in your knee, this is not something for you. So we've already been on our tippy toes, so try that again. Good, so stand on your tippy toes and then lower. Now, can you rock back and just stand on your heels? Again, use the chair for some added support. Notice, is it just your big toe mound side of your foot? So the inner edge that wants to lift, can you lift up through pinky toe side as well? And then rock again to big toe, lift your heel, and then rock back, front of your foot. Yeah. Now, take the weight into the pinky toe side of your foot, right? And maybe just kind of shift your body weight side to side, loading the tissues, right? Strengthening those ankles. So again, in terms of mobility and strength of your ankle joint, just to those of you who are prone, you know how some of us have sprained our ankles 10 times and other people never once, and then take the weight of your body. This is the one I want you to be mindful of. If you feel any pain in your knees, don't do it because it's certainly a big stretch. Big toe mound side of your foot, all the way down to heel. And just kind of shift the weight side to side. Side to side, and then go back to pinky toe side. So here, if we never expose the tissues or the muscles of your body to these unique and novel loads, they'll never get strong, right? In that area, go back to inside edge of foot, makes those knees knock a little bit. That's my only concern. So if it causes pain, that's not something you want to do. So the more we expose, just go in and out, keep your feet on the floor. So you're not gonna move around here, walk around. You're gonna go knock-kneed and bow-legged, knock-kneed and bow-legged. So this gives you an idea of when you see people who are either more knock-kneed or more bow-legged, what's happening? Why is that? Is that a structural thing? Yeah, it could be partly structural, but it's also soft tissue related too, right? So there is something we can do about these things. Good, shake them out. And again, strengthening our body in all these different ranges, if we ever did come off of the curve, right, a funny way and kind of our ankle goes out, well, if we expose our body to these unique and novel loads, the chances of you straining or hurting yourself are less. So, next exercise, grab your towel. Make a mess out of it. Open it up, my Mexican blanket. You have no idea how much this gets used. And then just kind of throw it on the floor. If you've got a couple of towels, do it. I happen to have a wall nearby, And I want you to challenge yourself by walking on unique and novel surfaces. So even if you have a couple of towels or a couple of blankets, or maybe you have pillows. I'm not going to use my pillows because they're silk and I will definitely slip on those. And just kind of walk in your hot mess of a pile and feel how the body moves, how you have to use different parts of you, right? There's not just the feet involved in this anymore, right? You start to feel how the muscles in your leg have to work, and maybe even how those intrinsic muscles of the foot have to work a little bit more uniquely to stop you from falling. So having some support nearby, challenging yourself by walking forward and back. And Deb knows this workshop. I did it for her group, her community group many, many years ago. But I would put like bolsters and rocks on the ground and all sorts of unique things that you might even find in nature. Maybe a pile of twigs. Imagine you hiking, how when you hike on uneven surfaces, your body has to work differently, right? Your brain has to go, what is it that I need to do to not fall? Right? So you're doing cognitive loading as well as motor skill loading, which we worked on last week by walking on unique and novel surfaces. Yeah, that's it, Susan. Nice. Susan made a little obstacle course. Fantastic. And this is what I suggest, right? Like make those things in your home, but put them in a safe place, near the counter, somewhere near a chair, and then throw all sorts of things that can challenge your brain and your body so that you train your muscles, right, as well as your nervous system in a different way. Nice. Okay, moving on. Move your hot mess of a pile out of the way so that's not a tripping hazard. So not just the muscles in your feet are working in that exercise. Legs, pelvis, core, back muscles. And then of course, as we talked about, the cognitive loading is your brain. Good. Look at Joanne, she's folding hers all nicely. I just like throw it on the couch. All right, so again, let's go back to our balance practice with our feet on the ground, right? Feet are on the ground, toes are pointed straight ahead. We're gonna have that chair handy, please. As you lift your right leg off the ground, you're gonna imagine, and again, you threw up marbles or a whole bunch of towels and they fell all over the floor. Use your imagination, okay? We're gonna stand on one leg and we're gonna tap and tap and tap and tap. Now, do it a couple of times. Get that sense of balancing. We're moving from our hip and our knee. And then come back to both feet on the ground. And I want you to reposition yourself and find the tripod on your left foot. So chances are you probably shifted around and moved all around, which is fine because I didn't give you any cueing. But let's reposition, lift all 10 toes up, find the tripod of both feet, lower the toes down, lift the right foot off the ground, notice the tripod. Did it shift? Did it change? So this is something you have to feel. It's not anything I can see. And then go back to your tapping. A little bit more control required to maintain the tripod of the foot, which is your strongest base of support. Because if we load more in the inside or outer edge of the foot, think about the knee taking that extra load. So really do your best to be a little bit more mindful, maybe a little bit more slower, controlled, finding your breath, and see if you can tap all the while you're maintaining, yes, tripod of left foot. Yeah. Check in with your breathing. I kind of forget to breathe through these exercises sometimes. All right, and again, move around. Don't be afraid. This is a controlled setting, right? The only thing I ask is that if you're starting to feel any discomfort in your joint, that might be a cue to take a break. So we're toe tapping with right foot, trying to maintain tripod in left. And so what is different about maintaining tripod in balance is that you're using more muscles, right? There's a lot more strength involved in that standing leg. Let's do the other side now. We'll stretch it out, I promise. Soon, not yet. So find tripod. It's like this friend, tripod. Good. And then for those of you who have been in my classes a long time, you hear me talk about tripod a long time because this is our strongest base of support, right? Big toe mound, pinky toe down, center of heel. Maybe a little harder on one foot than the next. If you're anything like me and you've had any injuries, you might have to hold on to some support. I'm using support on this side. Helps me feel a little bit more stable when I'm not sure. Good, and again, imagine you're just touching different, I don't know, maybe you have a carpet with a pattern, or maybe there's a floor and you can see the different, movements in the wood on the floor, and you can just touch all the different textures around you. In some of the classes, I used to bring Jenga blocks and scatter them all over the floor around people so that they could attempt to do the same thing. But I think using your imagination is equally valuable here. Good. Again, notice with the breath, challenging the muscles, challenging the brain. We'll go for 3. Good, and 2. Nice, Jilly. And 1. Excellent. Woo, who is that there? That's JoJo. She's rocking it today. Nice job. So shake things out. Let's come into a nice little stretch. I have one more exercise I want to do with you here. So just take your hands to the seat of the chair, walk your body away, send your pelvis back, and just get a nice little stretch in through the back line of the legs. Take a couple of breaths here. Letting all that go. Those lower limbs are probably a little bit on fire today, especially below the knee, although you might feel something higher up the chain as well. Good. Good. And then come on up. So, depending on how long your name is going to make this more or less challenging, okay? So, we are going to, I'll have a read of that after Diane, after class, so stick around so I can respond to whatever is there. The next exercise, if you have a really long name, I'm sorry. Just maybe first and last name. We're gonna start with our strongest base of support, of course, feet parallel, feet underneath hips, toes pointed straight ahead, okay? Finding the tripod in your left foot, I want you to balance on your left leg. Good. Easy peasy, good. Now using your opposite hand, so your right hand, you're gonna spell your name in cursive in the air on one leg, and spell it in different areas on one leg. If you need, don't we look crazy, everybody? If you need some support, absolutely take it. If you fall, worst thing that's gonna happen is your opposite foot lands on the ground, okay? So you can see now there's a level of movement that wasn't there, less controlled, focusing on tripod, focusing on foundation. This is great for fall prevention, y'all. So maybe you just want to go to your first name. If your name is too long, you can do that as well. Do that about 3 or 4 times. And then give that leg, nice, Jenny. Yeah, give that leg a little bit of a break, and let's go to the other side. Woo, I can feel the muscles on my back working. There's a whole bunch going on once we start getting really big with the movements here. So tripod, right foot, balance, pause. You're okay. Opposite hand, you're gonna now spell perhaps with the, I'm a lefty, so the other one was easier. Either way, opposite hand. If you would prefer to do with your dominant hand because it feels really weird to draw with your non-dominant hand, go ahead and do that. Just spell your name in the air. I've just gone to just my first name now. because this is the ankle I have an old injury on, and so McNeill is too long right now. Move it all over, spell it all over. Are you breathing? Do you need to take a break? Oh my goodness gracious. Where does she come up with this stuff? Yeah, nice. Awesome, okay. You're very proficient in spelling your name. With your hands. Let's go back to side one. Okay, so we're gonna find our tripod. Can you start to feel your ankles and your feet working a lot, you guys? Is this a lot of work for, yeah, right, Jenny? Yeah, yeah, Joanne. This is okay, this is exercise, but for something different than we think of, yes, for a different part of our body. So balance on left leg. Now, forget your hands. I want you to spell your name with your foot. Yep. Let's just go with first name, shall we? Spell it. All over the place. Remember, you're breathing. Now we're speaking to the range of motion in our hips, in our knee. You can feel how that standing leg hip is kicking in. Maybe you spell your name behind you. Maybe you get creative. I don't know. Use your imagination here. There's no right or wrong with this exercise. It's kind of insane just to start with. But you are challenging a lot more things than you think you are here. 3, 2, and 1. Anybody else out of breath? Check your heart rate monitor. All right, other side. Not too bad, not too bad. In the 90s right now. So that's probably because I'm talking a lot too. So eyes on horizon, best base of support. You're right here. Now you really feel that base of support. Stand on your right foot, point your left toes. Go for it, spell it. Maybe you're spelling things that you want to say to me. Crazy things. Nice, Jennifer M. Use your hands, like your arms can be used. That's it, Susan, nice. So now we're working that point reflex on that foot. Can you spell your name behind you? Are you spelling it with your ankle or your whole lower limb? Right? A lot of us will just spell moving our ankle around like so, as opposed to moving low limb. You're doing it, Mo. We'll go for 3, for 2, and 1. I'm not going to make you do it with your eyes closed. I think that's good. Chair out in front. Turn to face the chair. Come into that nice little bracket or down dog shape. Take a few breaths. Feel the ankles and the feet and the legs. So for those of you who've been told they have circulatory issues in their lower limbs, could this be a great opportunity for you to get more movement and more circulation in your lower limbs? Absolutely. We're gonna put it together in a wee bit of a flow. What do you think about that, everybody? I think a flow is nice. So I think we did this last week with the juggling, right? But we're not gonna be juggling today. So standing with your feet underneath your hips, we are going to do a balance posture, but I want you, before you do that, find the tripod of your foot once again. You're going to be so sick of that word. But know that anytime that the weight is not distributed evenly, there is more increased risk of falling, right? So think about your shoes when the heel is elevated. Think about your old worn out shoes where the weight of your foot is more on the outer edge or vice versa on the inner edge. Stick around after class if you have more questions about this, okay, everybody? So from this position, we're gonna take our left foot to our shin. Yes, left foot to shin. So here we're standing in tripod position of foot in a balancing pose. You can take those arms out to the side. Yeah. So holding tree pose, notice what's working here. Pull that hip into the body. Don't let it go on vacation. Take a few breaths here. Woo! Maybe you need a chair. And then I'm going to take my hands to the back of the chair, take my foot back behind me, find us in a warrior three pose. We did this last week as well. And again, you can practice taking your hands off of the chair, balancing on the tripod of the foot. Make sure that that balancing leg knee is not locked out, please. So you want to have a level of softness to that joint. Maybe fingertips reach behind you or out to side, whatever helps you in your balance. Good, and then drop your back foot to the ground. So in essence, what you're doing is your right foot is forward, your left foot is back. I want you to make sure that your hips and your shoulders are facing same direction. So if you're thinking of the old way we used to talk about yoga, like sandwiching your body in between two panes of glass, that doesn't apply in my classes. What does apply is that your right knee is tracking over right toes, your back foot is parallel with back edge of mat, and your shoulders and hips are facing forward. Keep your hands on your pelvis. Now in this position, you can see this uneven position of the legs. Can you once again find tripod of feet? Lift all 10 toes up. I know it's going to be a lot more challenging on that back leg, but see if you can find it here. Tripod of foot, straighten front leg, lower all 10 toes. Good, bend front knee. Good, so straighten and bend. A couple more times. Straighten and bend. And last time, straighten and bend. Nice job. Step your feet together. Let's go to the other side now. Good, so having that chair handy, find the tripod of both feet, eyes on horizon, proud chest. Take your right foot to the inside of your left leg. Yeah? And even if those toes are on the ground, they don't have to lift up off of the ground. Find your balance here. Chest is lifted. That's it. Nice, Jenny. Good. Nice, Karen. Notice your balance here. Notice the weight on the sole of your foot. We're putting our brain in our feet today, everybody. Good, and then hold on to the backrest if that's required for you. I'm choosing to use it. That's not mandatory. Come into a balancing pose, a warrior three pose. Keep the belly muscles pulled in and then see if you can let go of the chair for even just a brief moment, or maybe one hand on chair, one hand floating. Breathing here. Notice how that front foot is navigating the tripod here, doing its best as you step your right foot back behind you. Find that position now. So, back foot is parallel-ish with the back edge of mat. Front toes, front knee bends. So what you're trying to do is pull that left knee back behind you so that the knee is tracking over toes. Good, and again, reposition pelvis, so shoulders and hips facing whatever direction they face, as long as they're doing it together. So I don't want you to torque your chest open here. Good, and then straighten front knee, lift all 10 toes off the floor and refine that tripod. Reconnect with it, get tall, and bend through front knee. Good, and straighten, and bend. A couple more times, that's it. Straighten, and bend. And last time, straighten, and bend. Good, straighten your front leg and lift your forefoot paralleling your feet. So lift that front foot up, spin on your heel. So your feet are now pointing in the same direction, almost there, arms out by your side. Send your hips back, keep your chest up and lean back into your right leg. Good, and then side to side. We're just having a little bit of fun with our tripod, seeing if anything can change in our awareness of our feet. And notice as you move through your day, as you move through your week and through different classes here on Boomerang, if you can keep finding that tripod of the foot. We'll go for 4, chest up, 3, 2, and 1. Come back up through center, heel toe your feet back together underneath your hip. Ooh. Now for a moment here, just hold on to a chair. One final thing before we stretch out. Close your eyes and once again, See how much easier it is to locate. Maybe it isn't, maybe it is. I'm assuming. I don't want to speak for what you're feeling right now, but notice if you can locate that tripod easier. I know David said that one of his students was asking about finding the tripod, but because of her feet's stiffness and rigidity from living in orthotics all the time, it was near impossible. And I'm not suggesting that it is something that is impossible to find, but maybe one class isn't enough to find it, right? That's why we need to keep working to create strength and flexibility in our feet, in our toes, to help our balance and our posture and our proprioception and our fall prevention and our independence. Take a few breaths here. Take one more breath. And nice job. Find a chair. We're going to stretch out the hamstrings. So you're going to feel that the line of the back of the body got real tight in today's class, right? Because of this work of strengthening. You can use a chair. I'm going to choose to use a chair for this. Coming to the edge of my chair, simply stretch one leg out in front of you. It doesn't really matter to me which one you do. And once again, you can practice the mobility and flexibility even in the stretch, right? Draw all 5 toes. I was going to say 10, but I'm pretty sure that's just 5 at this point in time. Draw all 5 toes back towards your kneecap. Spread them out. Good. So sometimes that might be a sufficient stretch. Then we're going to hinge from the crease of our hip until we feel that sensation. You feel that tightness in the back line of the body. So know that there's a definitive connection between what goes on in the foot and the rest of the body, because if you let that foot go, the tension line diminishes. Yes, and then if you flex your ankle and bring your toes back, the tension line increases. So it's a pulley system, yes? Your body, the pulley system. Oh dear, I see a t-shirt now, no. Take a couple of breaths here. So it may not feel like exercise in Movement Playground, but it's certainly a lot of work for your body. Relax head, neck, and shoulders. Take another couple of breaths here. Good, and come on up with that flat back, simply stretching the opposite leg out. So heel digging into the ground, toes pulling back. Movement is coming from your pelvis, so if you'd like to squeeze the elbows back, if you're the person who tends to use their spine to do this exercise, know that that does not increase the intensity of the stretch. The movement comes from your pelvis. So hands on the pelvis is a great way to get that tactile feedback. And then notice how your foot is reaching back towards you, right? So can you get the feet to draw back equally and evenly? Almost it'll be required that your big toe mound maybe needs to push away slightly so you can get this even spread of pull back from pinky toe to big toe mound. Ooh, this is my tight side. We all have one, right? Keep those elbows squeezing back, head up, nice long neck, couple of breaths. Good, and then come on up. Front of the thigh stretch, hip flexor stretch. We're gonna turn to one side. Take our arm closest to the back of the chair. You're only gonna have the butt cheek that's closest to the backrest of the chair on the chair. So the other butt cheek, the one that's closest to me, is kind of floating. And then lower that bottom knee to the ground. So that front knee to the ground. So really hold on to that chair. Press the top of the foot down into the ground. Squeeze the buttocks on that hanging, dangling leg. So if you're feeling any tension in this, then just don't let that knee stay underneath the hip. I know some of my students can't do this particular position because of some pain in the low back, in which case let that bottom knee drag forward a little bit. Chest is nice and proud, buttocks is squeezing, front of the hip is open. So it's all connected, everybody. So if you think your knee issues have just to do with your knee joint, sadly mistaken. We want to look below and above where we're having any issues in our body. And if you don't have any issues in your body, consider yourself very, very lucky in this room. I've got lots, but we still keep moving and strengthening and bringing more awareness into our body. Take another breath here. And exhale, let it go. Carefully transition to the opposite side. Hold on to the back of the chair and press the top of the toenail side of that. Extend our leg closest to the monitor. And again, squeeze the buttocks, press the hip open, push it forward, and stay tall, shoulder over hip. I put a picture on Instagram, everybody. I don't know if any of you remember Kathy Smith from the 80s. Didn't even do her VHS test? Yeah, right? She was the bomb. I love Kathy Smith. Anywho, she's on the cover of a magazine last month at 69 in fishnet stockings, a black leather bodysuit, zipped open, all a showing, leather jacket, and a fur hat. Oh, and stilettos in the desert. Let me tell you, if that's what 69 looks like, I'm signing up for it. She looks amazing. Jeans probably have just a wee bit to do with that as well, yeah. But still, she's got a great attitude. Let's turn to face one another. Widen your legs as wide as you comfortably can. And take your hands to the insides of your thighs. Palms are facing me. Yeah. So again, are your knees tracking over your toes? That's what we're aiming for. Tripod of foot. I want you to press your legs forward into the back of the hands and don't let you win. Yes, your hands are going to press back into the legs. So you're creating this sense of resistance. So our feet and their mobility are really important in movement. Yes, in walking mechanics, right? In climbing stairs and using ladders, right? That toe extension is required to climb a ladder. When you're reaching for something that's out of your reach, if you think, the toes are an extension. So we want good sense of mobility in our feet, flexibility and strength so that, again, we can continue to do those simple things in life that we take for granted. Keep pressing the legs into the back of the hands. Chest is nice and open for 3. For 2, get tall, tall, tall. And 1, nice job. Come and sit comfortably. If you need a quick sip of water, we're just gonna have 1 minute to leave the room, and please stick around for any questions that you might have about today's movement playground and your feet. Sitting up nice and tall. Mo, your hair looks so pretty. It's so pretty and long. Sitting up nice and tall, everybody. So center yourself, find those sit bones, left and right side, maybe switch side to side. Yes. And then see if you can sit equally and evenly into those sit bones. Yeah. Center point of the body is right there. Sitting up nice and tall, relax your shoulders. Harder to feel, Nancy, if you're sitting on the edge of the bed, but you get it, right? Sitting equally, yeah, you got it. Softly close your eyes or gaze downwards towards the floor. And just this newfound awareness in your feet, in your lower legs. And even if it doesn't resonate with you, and even if it doesn't feel like exercise or feel like it has any value, I assure you that your body moved in those unique and novel ways that will keep you strong and mobile and independent throughout your day. So keep practicing these unique things and trying unique things. Barring feeling pain, we need to move our body, right? So we can't expect things to change, like low back pain, like bone density issues, like chronic issues in our body. Nothing will change if we don't change. We can't just, as they say, stay the same and expect things and results to be different. So take a few breaths into the knowing that you've done some really wonderful things for your body today. Nice, easy inhales and exhales through the nose. Remember next week to have something like a ball, even if it's a sock with some rubber bands tied around each sock to hold them in place and give them some weight. Relaxing head, neck, and shoulders. And that is just going to be for the end of class. So if it's something that doesn't resonate with you, know that you don't have to partake in it. I'm just having a little bit of fun to end our 5-week session. Oh my goodness gracious. Take another breath here. So grateful for all of you and your open mind. Another breath. And exhale, let it go. Thank you so much, everybody.